नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम 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 नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Now let's recite the Mangalacharan prayers together. Om
ओम
Ajnanatirmirandasya
अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य
Jnananjalakaya
ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया
Chakshurunmilitam
चक्षुरुन्मीलितेन
Tasmai
तस्मै
Shri Gurave
श्रीगुरवे
Namaha.
नमः।
Shri Chaitanya
श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं
Sthapitam
स्थापितं
Yena
येन
Bhutale
भूतले
Swayam
स्वयं
Rupa
रूप कदा मह्यं
Dadati
ददाति
Swapadaन्tikam
स्वपदान्तिकम्।
Vande
वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो
Guru Sriyuta
श्रीयुतपदकमलं
Shri Gurun
श्रीगुरुन्
Vaishnavaंश्च
वैष्णवांश्च
Shri Rupam
श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं
Sagrajatam
गणगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम्
Sadvaitam
साद्वैतं
Savadutam
सावधूतं
Harijana Sahitam
परिजनसहितं
Krishna Chaitanya Devam
चैतन्यदेवं
Shri Radha Pada
राधाकृष्णपादां
Nagana
सहगणललिता
Lalita Shri
श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च।
He
हे
Krishna
कृष्ण
Karuna
करुणा
Sindhu
सिन्धो
Deenabandhu
दीनबन्धो
Jagapate
जगत्पते
Gopesha
गोपेश
Gopikakanta
गोपिकान्त
Radha
राधाकान्त
Kanta
नमोऽस्तु ते। तप्त
Tapta
काञ्चन गौराङ्गी
Radhe
राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी
Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusuते
वृषभानुसुते
Devi
देवी
Pranamami
प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa
कृपा
Sindhyubhya
सिन्धुभ्य
eva
एव च
Patitanam
पतितानां
Pavanebhyo
पावनेभ्यो
Vaishnavebhyo
वैष्णवेभ्यो
Namo
नमो नमः। नमः ॐ
Namo
विष्णुपादाय
Krishnaya
कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय
Bhutale
भूतले
Srimate
श्रीमते
Bhakti Vedanta
भक्तिवेदान्त
Swami Niti
स्वामिनिति
Namine
नामिने। नमस्ते
Namaste
सारस्वते
Saraswate
देवे
Gauravani
गौरवाणी
Pracharine
प्रचारिणे
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi
निर्विशेषशून्यवादी
Paschatya Deshtaharine
पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे।
Jai
जय श्री
Shri
कृष्ण
Krishna
चैतन्य
Chaitanya Prabhu
प्रभु
Nityananda
नित्यानंद
Shri
श्री
Advaita
अद्वैत
Gadadhara
गदाधर
Srivasadi
श्रीवासादि
Gaura
गौरभक्त वृंद।
Bhakta
हरे कृष्णा हरे
Krishna
कृष्णा
Krishna Krishna
कृष्ण कृष्ण
Krishna
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare Hare
हरे
Rama
राम हरे
Hare
राम
Rama Rama
राम राम
Rama Hare
हरे हरे।
Hare श्री कृष्ण भगवान की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय। हरे कृष्णा बापू प्रभु, हरे कृष्णा सुनील प्रभु, हरे कृष्णा राधे शांत रामन प्रभु।
हरे कृष्ण राधा रंजन दास प्रभू, हरे कृष्ण सगळे प्रभुजी।
Let me share my screen. So we started 2 weeks ago this chapter, the Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yoga. And this is, as we learned, this is the most confidential knowledge. The whole Bhagavad Gita is most confidential, as we discussed a couple of weeks ago. But from going onwards, what Krishna is saying, that now what I am going to tell you is the king of all knowledge and is also most confidential knowledge. So a couple of weeks ago, we learned about why he is telling this to Arjuna, that this idam tute guhyatamam. So just like we have different degrees in English, like good, better and best, comparative and superlative. So in Sanskrit, there is guhyam, that is secret. Then guhyatara means more secret than the other one. And guhyatamam, so that is the most confidential or the most secretive. And why he's telling? Because he says that pravakshami anasuyave, you are never envious of me. So this knowledge is of somebody who is not envious of others, and particularly when we are envious of Krishna, we are envious of others as well. And this jnana vijnana sahitam. So I am going to give you all this theoretical knowledge as well as the realized knowledge. Yaj jnatva, by knowing this, moksha se ashubhat, you will be freed from all ashubha. सगळ्या अशुभापासून तुला मोक्ष मिळेल किंवा तुला मुक्तता मिळेल. So that's what we learned. And then today what we are going to discuss is one of the most quoted verse by Prabhupada again. So here he says that this is the king of all knowledge and the king of all the secrets, or king of all the confidential knowledge. And this is purest knowledge and the best of all the knowledge that can be available in this world. So let's recite this verse. So please repeat after me. Rajavidya
Rajavidya
Rajaguhyam
Rajaguhyam
Pavitram
Pavitram
Idam Uttamam
Uttamam
Pratyaksha
Pratyaksha
Avagam
Avagamam
Dharmyam
Dharmyam
Susukham
Susukham
Kartum
Kartum
Avyayam
Avyayam
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Pavitram Idamuttamam
Pavitram Idamuttamam
Idamuttamam
Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam
Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam
Dharmyam
Susukham Kartum Avyayam
Susukam Kartum Vyayam
Vyayam
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Pavitram Idamuttamam
Pavitram
Pavitram
Idamuttamam
Idamuttamam
Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam
Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam
Dharmyam
Susukham Kartum Avyayam.
Susukam Kartum Avyayam.
Vyayam.
Let's take a couple of recitations. Jitu Prabhu, you want to recite?
प्रभु जी राजविद्या राजगुह्यम
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Rajaguhyam
पवित्र मिद मुतुतम
Pavitram
Idamuttamam
प्रत्यक्षा वंगम
Dharmam
Yakshaavagamam
Pratyakshaavagamam
Dharmyam
Dharmyam
सुसुखम कुर्तुम व्ययम
Susukam Kartum Avyayam
Kartum Vyayam
Chandrakant Prabhu, you want to?
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
राजविद्या राजगुह्यम
Rajaguhyam
Pavitram Idamuttamam
Idamuttamam
Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam
प्रत्यक्षा
Dharmyam
Susukam Kartum Avyayam
Susukham Kartum Avyayam. Thank you, Prabhuji. So let's do word for word meaning. So Rajavidya means king of education or king of all the knowledge. Rajaguhyam means the king of confidential knowledge. Pavitram means the purest. Idam means this. Uttamam means the best or transcendental. Pratyaksha means by direct experience. Avagamam means understood. Dharmyam means the principle of religion. Susukham means very happy. Kartum, to execute, to perform. And Avyayam means everlasting, which never perishes. Translation. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfect perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. So again, he's describing, Lord Shri Krishna is describing this knowledge, what he's giving in Bhagavad Gita. And now in this chapter, what he's going to give to Arjuna as king of all the education that can be given. And this is the most confidential, Raj Guhyam, also king of all the secrets. And it is purest, Pavitra, and Uttamam, the best. Uttamam is the word actually, tamas is darkness, and that darkness is of everything that is in this material world is in the darkness of ignorance. So Udgata Tama, so something that is beyond this darkness is called Uttama, or the best of that, the best that is possible. So that is Uttamam. So this knowledge is Uttamam, or the best, or the perfect knowledge. And then Pratyaksha Avagamam. So this can be experienced by ourselves. When we start getting this knowledge, we can Pratyaksha understand this, we can get realization of this. And this is the perfection of all the religion, Dharmyam. And Susukham Kartum, it can be performed, whatever his Krishna is giving, when it is performed joyfully, Susukham. We can experience the happiness from within. We don't need external reasons for our happiness. We can experience the happiness from within. And Avyayam, this knowledge is not perishable. It is everlasting. So this purport is really, really big purport. Prabhupada spends a lot of his Bhaktivedanta purport. So we'll see if we can discuss this whole in one session, or if need, we can have another session for this part. So let's read 3 paragraphs at a time that I think cover one topic of the verse, and then discuss that and then move on to the next 3. So how about Rajesh Parve Prabhu? You want to read the first 3 paragraphs and then we'll discuss and move on to the next 3.
Okay. This chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called the King of Education because it is the essence of all doctrines and philosophies explained before. Among the principal philosophers in India are Gautama, Kanada, Kapila, Yajnavalkya, Shandilya, and Vaishwanara. And finally, there is Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedanta Sutra. So there is no dearth of knowledge in the field of philosophy or transcendental knowledge. Now the Lord says that this 9th chapter is the king of all such knowledge, the essence of all knowledge that can be derived from the study of the Vedas and different kinds of philosophy. It is the most confidential because confidential or transcendental knowledge involves understanding the difference between the soul and the body. And the king of all confidential knowledge culminates in devotional service. Generally, people are not educated in this confidential knowledge. They are educated in external knowledge. As far as ordinary education is concerned, people are involved with so many departments: politics, sociology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, etc. There are so many departments of knowledge all over the world and many huge universities, but there is unfortunately no university or educational institution where the science of the spirit soul is instructed. Yet the soul is the most important part of the body. Without the presence of the soul, the body has no value. Still, people are pressing great stress on the bodily necessities of life, not caring for the vital soul. The Bhagavad Gita, especially from the 2nd chapter on, stresses the importance of the soul. In the very beginning, the Lord says that this body is perishable and that the soul is not perishable. Antavanta ime deha nitya shuktaha sharirnaha. Sharirnaha. That is confidential part of knowledge. Simply knowing that the spirit soul is different from this body and that its nature is immutable, indestructible, and eternal. But that gives no positive information about the soul. Sometimes people are under the impression that the soul is different from the body and that when the body is finished or one is liberated from the body, the soul remains in a void and becomes impersonal. But actually, that is not the fact. How can the soul, which is so active within this body, be inactive after being liberated from the body? It is always active. If it is eternal, then it is eternally active. And its activities in the spiritual kingdom are the most confidential part of spiritual knowledge. These activities of the spirit soul are therefore indicated here as constituting the king of all knowledge. The थोड़ा ऊपर के पैरा संपला है. हाँ. The most confidential part of all knowledge.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Mhm.
Yeah.
So here, Srila Prabhupada is saying that in this chapter particularly of Bhagavad Gita is called the king of education. And going forward, he is going to give all the, it goes on increasing. Krishna always says that whatever I have given you, I am going to tell you something more, something better, which will free you from all your doubts. So Prabhupada gives, there is no, whenever we talk of philosophies, unfortunately, we always talk of philosophy of Socrates and other European philosophers. But there is no dearth of philosophical knowledge in Vedic literature. And he gives some names of the philosophers: Gautama, Kanad. So Kanad is the first person. Actually, he is the one. It is said that Newton actually got all the laws of gravity and atomic structure, or all this atomic structure and everything from Kanad, and then he just presented it basically. So Kapila is who presented the Sankhya philosophy, Yagnavalkya, Shandilya, and Vaishwanara. And of course, finally, Vedavyas. So Vedavyas divided all the Vedas into four, one Veda into four first. Then he wrote all the Puranas, 18 Puranas, and then Mahabharata, which is called Panchama Veda. So, and also, he is also the author of Vedanta Sutra, that is the direct commentary on Vedanta, that is Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Purana. So there is no definitely dearth of knowledge in the field of philosophy or transcendental knowledge, including spiritual and material science in Vedic literature. But now what Krishna is saying, that the knowledge what I am going to give you is the best of all this knowledge what is available in the Vedic literature, is the king of all the knowledge, and is the king of all the secrets. So even after studying all the Vedic literature, all the philosophical studies, and all other Puranas and Vedas, what knowledge he is going to give us now in this 9th chapter and on is the most confidential knowledge. Why? Because so far from 2nd chapter already we discussed. So the first thing we learned, or the Krishna instructed to Arjuna, that you are lamenting for something that is not worthy of lamentation. अशौचर्यान अन्वशोचस्थम प्रज्ञावादांश भाससे. म्हणजे तू अशा गोष्टीसाठी शोक करतोस की ती शोक करण्या योग्य नाही, आणि तू ते सांगताना सुद्धा यू प्रज्ञावादांश भाससे. यू आर टॉकिंग लाईक ए एज्युकेटेड पर्सन, बट यू आर अ फूल, नंबर वन. Then what is the important thing? So he says, Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuhyati. That he immediately gets to the spiritual understanding, a spiritual level, that just like in this body, soul transmigrates from the body of a young child to a body of a young adult to a body of an old man, similarly at the time of death, that soul transmigrates from one body to another body. And dhira, a person who has understanding of this, a self-realized person, is not disturbed or is not confused or bewildered by all this. So spirit soul is the important thing, not the material body. And that's why Krishna immediately says that you are worrying about body, material body that is going to perish anyway someday. A person who has taken birth is going to die anyway. So this knowledge is confidential. So people, and then Prabhupada gives very important paragraph here that generally people are not educated in this type of knowledge. Unfortunately, this is not taught anywhere in any of the universities or any modern educational system. So Prabhupada claims that there are departments like politics, we learn politics, sociology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, medical science, on all this stuff. But this is all relevant to body or the material body that is perishable, that is temporary. But there is no department in any of the universities to study the soul or the spiritual level, because there is no understanding, there is no grasp for the people to understand this. And that's why, yet the soul is the most important part in this body. It is, though it is not part of this material body, but just like in a car, if that car is just sitting there and there is no driver sitting in the car has no value. But as soon as somebody is driving, that car can move. Then because of the driver, the car can move or maneuver or can go from one place to another place. Somebody may claim that, oh, there are remote cars, but even behind the remote, some human being or some spiritual being is sitting there who is controlling the remote. So the movement of that machine is controlled. In the same manner, the movement of this body, which Krishna eventually calls as a yantra, is also controlled by the presence of the spiritual spark in that body. Otherwise, this material body has no meaning. So the most important part in this body is the spirit soul. And without that presence of the soul, the body has no value. Still, everything, all the technology, what we are studying today, even in the modern science, is only at the material bodily level. Only for the comfort, how I can get a comfortable life for this material body. But there is no care for spirit, or there is no even knowledge what is required for that spirit soul. So Prabhupada claims that especially from the second chapter onwards, BhagavadGita stresses importance of the soul. In the very beginning, that Krishna says, Antavattu ime dehe nityasyokta sharirinaha. That this deha is antavat. But the person who is the soul in this body is nitya. He is eternal. So one should not worry about the perishable body, but should actually take care of the soul, and he should learn how and what to take care of the soul. So that is the confidential part of knowledge, what we have already learned in the Bhagavad Gita. Simply knowing, and again at that level, simply knowing that the spirit soul is different from the body and its nature is immutable, so which never can be, we learned that, right? It cannot be cut by any weapon. It cannot be burned by fire. It cannot be withered by wind. It cannot be soluble in the water or anything. So that means it is eternal. We cannot do anything to the soul. But just that knowledge is also not enough. Then what is the higher confidential knowledge? That what are the activities of the soul? So here he says that, but that positive information about the soul, that gives no positive information of the soul. Sometimes people think that even though they understand the soul and the body are different, and soul is liberated or leaves this body, but they think that this soul is merge, it goes into void after giving up this body, or after liberation it has nothing to do. But that is not the truth, because if the soul is so active in this body, so the nature of the soul is to be active, because even this body is active because of the presence of the soul. It has so many desires, it has so many activities it wants to perform, and the soul is desiring that material nature is giving us facilities so that we can act and try to satisfy those desires. So after giving up this body, or even after liberation, giving up both the bodies, there are two bodies we talked about several times. One is gross or sthul sharir, and subtle body or sukshma sharir. So the gross body is made up of the gross material elements, that is earth, water, fire, air, ether, or in the Ayurvedic Shastra it is called Tridhatu, Kapha, Pitta, Vayu. And then the Sthula Sharir, Sukshma Sharir, or the subtle body, is made up of three subtle elements, that is mind, intelligence, and false ego, Mana, Buddhi, Ahankar. And Mana, Buddhi, Ahankar is the one which is carrying the soul from one gross body to the other gross body. And based on the impressions and the desires in the mind that are created, and the balance of karma remaining based on that, that gives the soul another gross body where it can get another type of indriyas, and it can try to enjoy the senses, to fulfill the desires through that body. And that's why there are 8.4 million varieties of bodies in this material world. So Krishna is so merciful that he has created so many varieties of bodies so that you can try to fulfill all your desires while you are in this material world. But eventually when you are liberated, then you give up this subtle body also, and then you get the original or the actual spiritual body, which is in which the mind, intelligence, and the original spiritual nature is attained. But even in that case, that doesn't mean that the soul gives up all activities. It is still active. And that is the most confidential part that Krishna says. These activities of the spirit soul are therefore indicated as the king of knowledge. And that actually, here he says, its activities in the spiritual kingdom after liberation are the most confidential part of the spiritual knowledge. So after liberation, what type of activities the individual person engages in the spiritual body, that is the most confidential part. So let's read the next part. How about Bapu Prabhu? You want to read the next 3 paragraphs? Talks about the purest part. So this section, what we read purport, covered Rajavidya and Rajaguhya. So it is king of all the education and king of all the secrets. Now here he's talking more about Pavitram. That is, this is the purest knowledge. Yes, Bapu.
Okay. This knowledge is the purest form of all activities as explained in Vedic literature. In the Padma Purana, man's sinful activities have been analyzed and are shown to the results of sin after sin. Those who are engaged in fruitive activities are entangled in different stages and forms of sinful reactions. For instance, when the seed of particular tree is sown, the tree does not appear immediately to grow. It takes some time. It is first small, sprouting plant, then it assumes the form of a tree. Then it flowers and bears fruit. And when it completes, the flowers and fruits are enjoyed by persons who have sown the seed of the tree. Similarly, a man performs a sinful act, and like a seed, it takes time to fructify. There are different stages. The sinful action may have already stopped within the individual, but the results or the fruit of that sinful action are still to be enjoyed. There are sins which are still in the form of seed, and there are others which are already fructified and are giving us fruit, which are enjoying as distress and pain. As explained in the 28th verse of the 7th chapter, a person who has completely ended the reactions of all sinful activities and who is fully engaged in pious activities, being freed from the duality of this material world, becomes engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna, in other words, those who are actually engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord are already freed from all reactions. This statement is confirmed in the Padma Purana. प्रभुजी हे नाही मी वाचू.
ओके, मी वाचतो. अप्रारब्ध फलं पापं कूटं बीजं फलोन्मुखं क्रमेणैव प्रलीयेत विष्णुभक्तिरतात्मनाम्.
For those who are engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all sinful reactions, whether fructified in the stalk or in the form of seed, gradually vanish. Therefore, the purifying potency of devotional service is very strong, and it is called Pavitram
Come on.
Uttam, the purest. Uttama means transcendental. Tamas means this material world or darkness, and Uttama means that which is transcendental to material activities. Devotional activities are never to be considered material. Although sometimes it appears that devotees are engaged just like ordinary men. One who can see and is familiar with devotional service will know that they are not material activities. They are all spiritual and devotional, uncontaminated by the material modes of nature.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So here Prabhupada explains about the Pavitram and Uttamam. So in the previous section we read about Rajavidya Rajaguyam, how it is king of all the education and secret. Now here he is saying that this is pure because it is pure from all the activities. The activities done in this under this knowledge are most pure. And here Prabhupada is explaining actually what is sin and how our karma balance, or how the cycle of karma works. So it starts with avidya. Avidya means ignorance. And here he has mentioned that in the Padma Purana, man's sinful activities have been analyzed as a seed. When we saw a seed, so different types of seeds may sprout in different timelines. A seed of some, let's say, what do you call, coriander, it may sprout immediately in day or two, but there are some of the seeds like what we saw, avocado. There is one fruit or vegetable that we saw. It takes like at least 4 weeks or so, 3 to 4 weeks to even sprout a little bit. That seed is just sitting there for some time. So different types of seeds take different types of seeds take different time to even sprout. And then even to grow, they have different timeline. When the flower, when they bloom or the blossom, then that is also a different time. And then when actual fruit comes to that tree is also different time. In the same manner, our karma, the different activities what we are doing are like seed. So they are sown in our as a reaction, and then they may fructify at a certain time that is very conducive for the fruit to fructify, and then we experience the result of those seeds. And that can be either in this lifetime, some of them are right at the immediate next moment, some of them are like in next few days, some of them are in after few years, and some maybe after few lifetimes. So the reaction of karma, what I am doing, is I may experience immediately or I may experience in future lifetimes. And what I am experiencing right now is the karma what I have performed sometime in the past. It can be in this lifetime or it can be in the past lifetimes. So that's how this whole cycle works. And that there are some technical terms or the Sanskrit terms here. So avidya puts us in this illusion. Then there is actually I have a image of that would probably help. And I think we have discussed this a little bit before. Let me see if I can find that. So avidya is the root cause of everything, or ignorance. Then the first soul or the person has a sinful desire, so that is bija. It's like just like a seed. Then because of his contemplating on that desire for that for a long time, eventually he performs that activity that is called papa, or sinful action. And when that papa is performed, now because that papa is performed, I have to experience that reaction sometimes. It can be in near future or it can be in distant future, it's sometime later. So that is sitting there as aprarabdha. So that is the word that the Padma Purana verse starts with, aprarabdham. So aprarabdha means unmanifest. That is just sitting there and sometime I may experience that. It is just waiting for it to create a situation when I will experience the result of that papa what I have done. And we'll come to the point what papa means actually. When that fructifies and when I experience the fruit of that is called prarabdha. So prarabdha is what I am experiencing right now. So whatever I am going through, I may go through some, I'm going through some good time right now. I'm getting happiness. So that is the prarabdha of something good I have done in the past. I am going through some bad patch right now. I am experiencing a lot of distress. I lost my job. I am losing my house or something. So that is prarabdha of something what I have done in the past. And this is that comes and goes based on whatever I have done. So I am the one responsible for everything what is happening to me. And because of this prarabdha, there is suffering. And what happens, this prarabdha then there is, because it creates my own nature. I'm building my nature with the type of guna, satogun, rajoguna, or tamogun. I'm associating based on the desires. What type of desires I'm having, I'm creating that sinful disposition. It is developing my nature, and based on that nature, I'm having different desires right now. Because if I'm associating with some drunkard friend, and then because of him, initially even I'm not very inclined to drinking, he may say, oh, come on, yaar, just have one peg, kya hota hai? So because of that, then I will have that disposition and I will have some desire to, okay, what happens with one peg? Then I'll drink, and then that will have this reaction. Next time, because I am associating with more, it may convert into one peg to two peg to three peg to whole bottle, or I may change into whole drunkard. So that nature, I am that kutam, and then this is whole cycle. then it creates another sinful desire. That sinful desire creates another activity, that is papa. And so this whole cycle is only because of the ignorance that I have about my own identity. I don't know who I am. And I am thinking I'm enjoying by doing all this. And because of that enjoyment, I'm having different desires. And to fulfill those desires, I'm engaging in different types of activities. Those are all sin. So this is how we are getting the so-called sukha or suffering. Mostly it is suffering. But we are so ignorant that we don't know what is real happiness. And sometimes some sense gratification, we accept that as happiness. So this is the Padma Purana verse that is quoted in the, let's go back there. So this is what Prabhupada makes mainly express. In the first, there is a small sprouting plant, and then this whole cycle, the tree grows and then it fructifies, and then the fruit that comes, then that fruit is basically we experience suffering or happiness. And Prabhupada mentions about the 28th verse from the 7th chapter, which says, Esham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva mohanir mukta bhajante mam dridavrata. Let's go there and quickly check that. So, Esham tu antagatam papam, one who has been freed from all his sinful reactions or sinful activities, sinful desires, and engages in punya karmanam. Te, those persons, dvandva moha nirmukta, free from all the dualities and illusion, dvandva and moha, they engage in bhajante mam drudavrata. They engage in my devotional service with determination, drudavrata. So Krishna says here, we read already this in the 7th chapter, Esham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta. They are freed, mukta from dvandva and moha. Bhajante mam, they worship me. How? Drudavrata, with determination, very staunch. So persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities, dvandva moha, dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service, bhajante mam, with determination, drudavrata. So that Prabhupada mentions here, as explained in this, the person who is completely ended all the reactions of his previous papa, only he can get some exposure to Bhagavad Gita and then engages in the staunch devotional service of Krishna. And then Prabhupada quotes the Padma Purana verse where we learn what is aprarabdha phala, then papa, then kutam, bijam, and phala unmukham. So at all these stages, any of these stages, if I have any reactions that is balanced, what happens by engaging in pure devotional service? Everything is eradicated. So everything is completely burned to ashes. So everything. So for those क्रमेणैव प्रलीयते, सगळ्यांचा प्रलय होतो क्रमेणैव. So one by one, everything is eradicated. For whom? Vishnu Bhakti Ratatmana, one who engages completely in devotional service of Vishnu or Krishna or any form, or any Vishnu Tattva basically. So one who engages in Krishna's service or devotional service, bhakti, all the stages of his aprarabdha phalam, papam, kutam, bijam, falonmukham. Falonmukham is prarabdha, one who is experiencing. So, but it is kramenaiva praliyate. It is completely removed. So, therefore, it is purifying. Therefore, the jnana, what Krishna says that he is going to give us about the devotional service, is pavitram and uttamam. And that's what, so this purifying potency of devotional service is very strong. And it is called pavitram uttamam. Uttamam means transcendental. The real meaning in Sanskrit we just discussed earlier. Udgata tama iti uttama. So something that is beyond this material conception or tamas is called uttama, udgata, beyond that. So that is tamas. So that's why it is pure and uttama. And okay, so I think we read only up to here. So let's read next part. Anything before we continue here? Any thoughts, Prabhuji, up to here? Any reflections, quick reflections? So we discuss Rajavidya Rajaguhyam and Pavitram Uddamam. So those are, we discussed a little bit in detail. Or any questions or it clear?
क्वेश्चन नाही प्रभूजी, पण इथे याच्यामध्ये एक्सप्लेन केलं म्हणते ना की आफ्टर द सोल लिव्ह द मटेरियल बॉडी, राईट, इट्स पोस्ट ऍक्टिव्ह मीन्स आफ्टर दॅट ऍक्टिव्हिटीज, राईट.
Mhm.
That's what the secret knowledge or confidential knowledge is explaining in this chapter. ते आपण मराठीत एक म्हण आहे, मेल्याशिवाय स्वर्ग दिसत नाही रे, म्हणतो आपण, बरोबर,
Mhm.
की पण इट्स नॉट अ रिअल डेथ. बेसिकली आफ्टर दॅट व्हॉट एव्हर इज इट ते दिसते ते, दॅट्स व्हॉट इज एक्सप्लेन हिअर. दॅट्स व्हॉट आय एम गेसिंग नाउ.
Mhm. So that's true. मेल्याशिवाय स्वर्ग दिसत नाही याचा रिअल अर्थ आहे प्रत्यक्ष अनुभवल्याशिवाय
या अनुभव
ते
ते
दिसत
मटेरियल
नाही.
बॉडीने अनुभव आहे तर नाही
हो.
म्हणतो, पण हिअर अदर दॅन मटेरियल बॉडी दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द स्पिरिच्युअल, बेसिकली द सोल अँड स्पिरिट, व्हॉट दे
Correct.
विल बी आफ्टर इट लिव्ह द मटेरियल बॉडी.
Correct. Yes. So that's what. So generally, what Prabhupada is saying, that generally people say that when soul leaves this body, it has nothing to do. It just
Yeah.
merges into something and it becomes light and पंचमहाभूतात प्राण विलीन झाले
हम्म.
असं म्हणतो ना आपण. म्हणजे आता त्याला काही काम नाही आहे. That is
Yeah.
not true. The soul is active and it is said there is a description of the spiritual world and everywhere, and
Mhm.
where there are spiritual activities that soul engages into.
Mhm.
So that's what it is talking about.
Right.
Very good. Okay. If there are no more thoughts, let's continue a little bit more. So Pratyaksha, the execution of devotional service is so perfect and pursued results directly. The results are actually pursued. Okay, so let's continue from here. Who has not read it? Sunil Prabhu, you want to continue next few paragraphs?
हो.
It is said person.
हो. It is said that the execution of devotional service is so perfect that one can perceive the results directly. This direct result is actually perceived, and we have practical experience that any person who is chanting the holy names of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, in course of chanting without offenses, feels some transcendental pleasure and very quickly becomes purified of all material contamination. This is actually seen. Furthermore, if one engages not only in hearing but in trying to broadcast the message of devotional activities as well, or if he engages himself in helping the missionary activities of Krishna consciousness, he gradually feels spiritual progress. This advancement in spiritual life does not depend on any kind of previous education or qualification. The method itself is so pure that by simply engaging in it, one becomes pure. In the Vedanta Sutra 3.2.26, this is also described in the following words. Prakashasya karmani abhyasat. Devotional service is so potent that simply by engaging in the activities of devotional service, one becomes enlightened without a doubt. A practical example of this can be seen in the previous life of Narad, who in that life happened to be the son of maid servant. He had no education, nor was he born into a high family. But when his mother was engaged in serving great devotees, Narad also became engaged, and sometimes, in the absence of his mother, he would serve the great devotees himself. Narad personally says, राधारंजन दास प्रभूजी तुम्ही वाचाल काय?
एक मिनिट, मी बघतो ते याच्यात जर मिळत असेल संस्कृतमध्ये जर वाचता येईल देवनागरीत. लेट्स गो देअर अँड कम बॅक. उच्चिष्ट लेपनम अनुमोदितो दिवीच्या. ओके, आता वाचता येईल
हो
का वाचू?
हो. उच्चिष्ट लेपनम अनुमोदितो द्विजय सुकृत सम
गुंजे
पुंजे तद तदपस्त किल्बिष एवं
प्रवृत्तस्य
प्रवर्तस्य विशुद्धचेतसास् तद्धर्म एवत्म रुचि प्रजयते.
प्रजायते. Okay.
In this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.25, Narad describes his previous life to his disciple Vyasadeva. He says that while engaged as a boy servant for those purified devotees during the 4 months of their stay, he was intimately associating with them. Sometimes those sages left remnants of food on their dishes, and the boy who would wash their dishes wanted to taste the remnants. So he asked the great devotees for their permission, and when they gave it, Narad ate those remnants and consequently became freed from all sinful reactions. As he went on eating, he gradually became pure-hearted as the sages. The great devotees relished the taste of unceasing devotional service to the Lord by hearing and chanting, and Narad gradually developed the same taste. Narad says further,
ओके, हे पण त्याच्या पुढचीच वर्ष आहे.
okay,
नेक्स्ट वर्स ऑफ द श्रीमद भागवतम. ओके, लेट्स डू दिस. ओके,
try करतो.
या
तत्रान्वहं कृष्ण कथा प्रगायता अनुग्रहणे शृणवं मनोहरा ता श्रद्धया मेनुपदं विष्णुव्रता प्रियाश्रयस्य अंग मम भावद रुचिः. मम भवद रुचिः.
मम भवद रुचि. रुचि
मम भवद
निर्माण
रुचिः.
झाली. ओके. ओके.
By associating with the sages, Narad got the taste of hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, and he developed a great desire for devotional service. Therefore, as described in the Vedanta Sutra, Prakashasya cha karmanam abhyasataha, if one is engaged simply in the acts of devotional service, everything is revealed to him automatically, and he can understand. This is called pratyaksha, directly perceived. The word dharmyam means the path of religion. Narad was actually a son of maid servant. He had no opportunity to go to school. He was simply assisting his mother, and fortunately his mother rendered some service to the devotees. The child Narad also got the opportunity and simply by association achieved the highest goal of all religion. The highest goal of all religion is devotional service, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Savai savai pumasam paro dharmam yato bhaktir adhokshaje. Religious people generally do not know that the highest perfection of religion is the attainment of devotional service, as we have already discussed in regard to the last verse of chapter 8. Vedasu, Yajnasu, Tapashu, Chaiva. Generally, Vedic knowledge is required for self realization. But here, although Narad never went to the school of the spiritual master and was not educated in the Vedic principles, he acquired the highest results of Vedic study. This process is so potent that even without performing the religious process regularly, one can be raised to the highest perfection. How is this possible? This is also confirmed in Vedic literature. Acharya Vana Purusho Veda. One who is in the association with great acharyas, even if he is not educated or has never studied the Vedas, one uh, can become familiar with all the knowledge necessary for realization.
Thank you, Swami Prabhu. Yeah, that was
Thank
long.
you.
So this is Pratyaksha and Dharmyam. Two terms Prabhupada covers here. So Pratyaksha, how is this Pratyaksha experienced? So Prabhupada mentions that the following Prakashascha Karmani Abhyasat. So that by practicing devotional service, it is revealed, the knowledge is revealed to the practitioner. One who engages in devotional service, he may be, from material point of view, he may not be educated or qualified. So, but by engaging in bhakti, this all knowledge is revealed to him, and he can experience, we can see the symptoms in him. And that's why it is called Pratyaksha Avagamam Dharmam. And then Prabhupada mentions, this is the story of Narad Muni from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th chapter in the first canto that is mentioned. So the story I'll briefly. So Narada Muni, when, okay, the little background is when Vyasadeva was feeling incomplete after writing all the Vedas and all the Puranas and everything, he still felt incomplete within himself. And he was contemplating in his ashram on the bank of Saraswati when Narad Muni, who is his guru or spiritual master, he appeared there. And then Narad Muni asked Vyasadeva, why are you feeling incomplete? And then basically Vyasadeva told him that even though I have given all these descriptions, but I am still feeling incomplete. So Narad Muni then told him that because you have not written directly about the Supreme Lord Krishna, his pastimes and devotional service. And that's when Vyasadeva wrote Srimad Bhagavatam. That's when he felt complete. So that's the history of Srimad Bhagavatam. So in that conversation, Narad Muni tells about his own life. So Narad Muni mentions that in his previous life, he was just a son of a maid servant who used to work for something, who was very poor, used to live in a hut, and then he didn't have father, and then he was just spending time with her. She used to work some outside and then get something, and was somehow or other maintaining the family. But what happened is, once in the Chaturmas, there were some sadhus that came in their neighborhood and they were staying there. So his mother was serving them. And because his mother was serving them, Narad Muni also, he was not very naughty boy or anything. He was very sincere boy. So he was also serving them. Whatever they needed, he was giving them whatever they needed, or helping them in their process of yajna or whatever they were doing. So during that time, because of their association, constant association with these great sages, Narad, the bhakti was sprouted in Narad Muni's heart. That in the previous life, his heart, the young boy's heart, he was like 5-6 years old, very young child. And then it is said that when we eat the remnants of the sadhu, great sadhu, or prasad, or bhoga offered to Supreme Lord, Bhagwan, we get purified, and that is, we get that knowledge. That knowledge is given from within, and bhakti develops within us. And that's where he said that uchishta lepana anumodito dvija, that I took the permission of those dvija or the sadhus. Dvija means twice born. One, first birth is by the father and mother, and second birth is by guru. And Vedas are considered as mother, and guru is considered as father. So those go through that upanayana process and get guru. That is, they are called dvija. So by their anumodan, by their permission, I ate some of the remnants from their dishes. So, uchishta. And by then, sukrutsma bhunje tad apasta kilmishaya. Then all my bad things were eradicated just by eating the prasad of it from them. And that's how he got ruchi, evatma ruchi prajayate. So he developed that taste for bhakti. Tadharma evatma ruchi prajayate. So he developed that ruchi for Bhagavad Bhakti. And that's how he developed bhakti. And then Tatrava anham Krishna katham pragayate. So then he started hearing about Krishna katha. And he developed anurag for that, and for Hari. That's how he developed anurag or taste for hearing more Krishna katha, and he engaged, and that's how he got into bhakti of Krishna. So just by association, he could experience that change within himself. And that's where Prabhupada quotes this for pratyaksha. So this can be pursued personally. We can see the symptoms. We can see some changes in us based on our dedication. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. Krishna says in the 4th chapter, right? We read that earlier. That whatever degree one surrenders unto me, to him I reveal myself to that degree. So when one surrenders, when one is very sincere and he's trying to surrender, Krishna gives him more and more revelation and more opportunity to serve him, and more bhakti. So in the same manner, Narada Muni could see the symptoms in him, and then he can pratyaksha. So he can experience directly that he was developing bhakti for Krishna. So that's the reason Prabhupada gives this example or story from Srimad Bhagavatam, pratyaksha. And dharmam is part of religion. So the real religion, not the religious what we discussed this. The real religion is Bhagavata Dharma. That any religion that teaches us love for God. It can be a Muslim religion, Christian religion, Hindu religion, or any Jews or Jain. For the supreme God, God is one. For the God, whichever religion teaches to develop or real love for God, that is real religion. That is called as Bhagavata Dharma. Bhagavata means one is related to Bhagavan. So that dharma, that is dharma, the real path of religion. So Narad was actually a son of maid servant. He had no qualification. He was a young boy. He was not educated even. And he was not coming from a very high family like Kshatriya or Brahmana or anything. No, but still just by association, sadhu sangha, just by association of the sadhus and serving them sincerely, without any material desire, he got the highest goal of religion. And the highest goal of religion is Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti for Krishna or Vishnu. So as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 1st canto, 2nd chapter, 6th verse, it says, Savai pumsam paro dharma yato bhaktir adokshaji ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. What is the highest dharma? Savai pumsam paro dharmo. Para means supreme. What is supreme dharma? Yato bhaktir adhokshaji. That which creates bhakti for adhokshaja. Adhokshaja means the supreme Lord who cannot be perceived by akshaja. Adhakrit akshaja means by our blunt material senses. For him, when we develop bhakti, that is the highest dharma. That is the definition given of dharma or the highest dharma in Srimad Bhagavatam. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaji. And what type of bhakti? Ahaituki, without any motive. I don't want anything in return. Otherwise, that is not pure bhakti. That is business. Ahaituki. Apratihata, without any stoppage, continuous. Not that I do only for one day, or only for Ekadashi, or only for Somwar or Mangalwar, or I do once a week. No, it's continuous, 24/7. Apratihata. And Yayatma Suprasidati, by which you get happiness or sukh from within. Atma Suprasidati. Not external, that by sense gratification, not by eating gulab jamun or watching movie. That happiness what we temporarily derive. No, this is the happiness that soul experiences within. That is called the real dharma. So that is the definition of dharma in Srimad Bhagavatam given, the real dharma. And that is the perfection of religion. So that's what one can attain by getting this knowledge that Krishna is going to give us. There are lots of things Prabhupada mentions here. Acharyavan Purusho Veda, that he quotes so many verses. How is it possible? Just by serving the Acharya. When one Acharya, whoever is coming from the disciplic succession in the Parampara, Vaishnava Parampara, when I accept his teaching and follow it, and just follow those instructions and serve him and Supreme Lord, that is what makes me learned in Vedas. Then the Divya Gnan Hriday Prakashite, that is revealed to me. Krishna reveals that knowledge from within. Even if he is not educated or never studied the Vedas, can become familiar with all the knowledge necessary for realization. And some examples we can see are like Shabari. She didn't have to study Vedas or anything, but she had staunch devotion for Prabhu Ramchandra. So yeah, then Lord Ramchandra himself went to her to meet her. So there are so many examples in our Vedic literature. How much is still more? So we have Susukham. Oh, okay, we can finish that probably. There are only few paragraphs. Rajesh Anantaraman Prabhu, you want to finish last 3 paragraphs?
Yes. The process of devotional service also, na?
Yes.
Before that was the Acharyavan.
Yeah, we
Veda.
finished that. Yeah.
Okay. Right. The process of devotional service is a very happy one. Susukham. Why? Devotional service consists of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. So one can simply hear the chanting of the glories of the Lord, or can attend philosophical lectures on transcendental knowledge given by authorized acharyas. Simply by sitting, one can learn. Then one can eat the remnants of the food offered to God. Nice, palatable dishes. In every state, devotional service is joyful. One can execute devotional service even in the most poverty-stricken condition. The Lord says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. He is ready to accept from the devotee any kind of offering. Never mind what, even a leaf, a flower, a bit of a fruit, or a little water, which are all available in every part of the world, can be offered by any person, regardless of social position, and will be accepted if offered with love. There are many instances in history. Simply by tasting the tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, great sages like Sanat Kumara became great devotees. Therefore, the devotional process is very nice and it can be executed in a happy mode. God accepts only the love with which things are offered to him. It is said here that this devotional service is eternally existing. It is not as the Mayavadi philosophers claim. Although they sometimes take to so-called devotional service, their idea is that as long as they are not liberated, they will continue their devotional service. But at the end, when they become liberated, they will become one with God. Such temporary time-serving devotional service is not accepted as pure devotional service. Actual devotional service continues even after liberation. When the devotee goes to the spiritual planet in the kingdom of God, he is also engaged there in serving the Supreme Lord. He does not try to become one with the Supreme Lord, as will be seen in Bhagavad Gita. Actual devotional service begins after liberation. After one is liberated, when one is situated in the Brahman position, Brahma Bhuta, one's devotional service begins. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktum labhate param. No one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by executing Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, or say any other yoga independently. By these yogic methods, one may make a little progress towards Bhakti Yoga. But without coming to the stage of devotional service, one cannot understand what is the personality of Godhead. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also confirmed that when one becomes purified by executing the process of devotional science of devotional service, especially by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita from realized souls, then he can understand the science of Krishna or the science of God. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavat bhakti yogata. When one's heart is cleared of all nonsense, then one can understand what God is. Thus, the process of devotional service of Krishna consciousness is the king of all education and the king of all confidential knowledge. It is the purest form of religion and it can be executed joyfully without difficulty. Therefore, one should adopt.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
I didn't really think that we could finish this, but I'm glad we finished the whole purport. This was a little long. So here Prabhupada is mentioning about the devotional service of the Susukham part, the last part.
Yes.
So this devotional service is actually the process is very happy. There is no distress. It is, and you can see all the devotees, they are singing, dancing, chanting, hearing, eating prasadam. So they don't even know what happened, what distress is. So this is very happily and joyfully performed. Sukham kartum avyayam. And do we need a lot of money for this? So Prabhupada gives an explanation here that Krishna says that Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yomi Bhaktya Prayachati. We'll read in the same chapter eventually, 9th chapter, this verse. So Patram Pushpam, he's only asking for offer me a little leaf or Pushpam flower or Phalam, a piece of fruit, or Toyam water or milk. And that's it. You don't need a lot of money for that. So it can be performed, bhakti can be performed by any person in the whole society. He doesn't have to be very educated. He doesn't have to be coming from a rich family or a very high family like Brahmana, Kshatriya. It doesn't matter. It can be performed by anyone very easily and very joyfully, very happily. And happiness is the symptom of the soul because it is always seeking happiness, and that's why the only problem when we are in this material world is that we are seeking happiness in a wrong place, in a wrong way. But when we are educated in this science of Krishna consciousness, then we realize what real happiness is. Then there is no distress. And what are the symptoms of, how do we express happiness generally?
See, when you are very happy, you really don't have to do much because it is a moment of happiness that you experience.
Yeah. But generally, even in material case, when we are very happy, we sing, dance, yay.
Yes.
So singing and dancing is the symptom of happiness, and that's what Krishna consciousness is, singing and dancing and eating prasadam.
Correct.
What else do you want for being happy?
Exactly.
That's what all we do.
Physically, your man starts dancing.
Yeah. So
yes,
so that's all Krishna devotees, if you see across the world, they do.
They do.
Eat very palatable prasadam that is offered to Krishna. And because they want to offer it to Krishna, they want it such a palatable dishes, varieties of dishes. And they offer it to Krishna and they enjoy. And then sing and dance.
Yes.
and read philosophical study or yeah. So there is no place for distress. There is no stress at all.
Exactly.
This process is such a simple and happily performed. And actually, in the spiritual world, also in the Brahma Samhita, it is said that every step you take is a dance. There is nobody
Yes.
walking, everybody is just dancing. And every
Dancing.
word you say is a song. So everything you speak in spiritual world is song. It's melodious singing because all you are doing is glorifying Krishna, and everything you are doing glorifying Krishna is song, and it's melodious. And that's why even the knowledge that Krishna is giving to Arjuna is such a deep philosophical knowledge. But what it is called? Bhagavad Gita.
Gita.
It's a song of God. It is also a song.
Yes.
There is nothing more deep and philosophical than Bhagavad Gita, but it is a song. So singing, dancing, eating prasadam, this is all bhakti is very happily performed. And that's why this
Yes.
knowledge what Krishna is giving, devotional service, is perfectly happiness. And Prabhupada denounces this Mayavadi philosophers, although sometimes they take so-called devotional service, but their idea is that as long as I get liberated, I will do devotional service. After I am liberated, I am God.
Yes.
Then I am done. No, that's not the truth.
That is not liberation at all.
You actually start devotional service after that. Now, right now, you are apprentice. You are practicing. This is
Correct.
your internship.
Correct.
So just like, oh, it's like saying, oh, after my internship, when I get job, I don't have to work.
That's when you really have to work.
Yeah, that's when you get real work.
Correct.
So what we are performing in the material world is training for bhakti so that we are actually eligible for performing bhakti in the spiritual world. So, and then Prabhupada claims, so that's what actually in the 18th chapter, Krishna also said, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhakti labhate param. So who gets para bhakti or the real bhakti? One who is already on the Brahma Bhuta stage. Brahma Bhuta. And Prasannatma, he is always jolly, he is always happy. Na shochati na kankshati. He is never lamenting for anything. कशाबद्दल शोक नाही करत किंवा न कांक्षती ही डझंट डिझायर एनिथिंग कशाची आकांक्षा करत नाही अँड सम सर्वेषु भूतेषु ही इज इक्वल टू ऑल द लिव्हिंग एंटिटीज because he knows they got different bodies but they are because of their karmic reactions but they are all spiritual beings like me and that's why I should be compassionate toward them and I should try to give them also Krishna consciousness so that we all can go back home, back to Godhead. That's why he is sama sarveshu bhuteshu. To that person, mad bhakti labhate param. That person gets my supreme bhakti. That's what he says in the 18th chapter. We'll read that eventually when we read the Bhagavad Gita, that 18th chapter, Athavadhyay. And then this can be learned in the Srimad Bhagavatam also it is confirmed, in Bhagavad Gita also it is confirmed. But when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita or any of these spiritual topics from a realized soul, see this is very, very important. Not from any mundane scholar or who wants to propagate his own theories in the name of Bhagavad Gita or Vedic literature. This is very important. It is stated in many places in Vedic literature that one should learn Vedic knowledge for a self-realized person who is following the instructions as it is they are given in the Shastra. So we should hear Shastra from a sadhu or from a self-realized person. Actually, in Padma Purana, it is said that I think we quoted this verse. I always remember that verse for some reason. That avaishnava mukhodgirnam putam harikathamrutam shavanam naiva kartavyam sarpochishta yathapaya. That we should never hear Vishnu Katha or Krishna Katha or Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam from a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava means one who is not devotee of Krishna, who is not Vishnu Bhakta. Because everybody in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, become my devotee. So he is studying Bhagavad Gita, but he is not becoming devotee. That means he is not following Bhagavad Gita.
He's only using it to lecture others.
Yes, lecture, as well as he maybe for some ulterior motive, for his own purpose. He will propose his theory, and because everybody appreciates Bhagavad Gita, he'll say, oh, Bhagavad Gita says also like this. People don't know Bhagavad Gita. They'll think that, okay, what he's saying, we should follow it. So that's the reason. So, Avaishnava Mukhodgirnam Putam Harikatha Amrutam. Harikatha is pure, very pure. But we should never hear Shravanam Naiva Kartavyam. We should never hear from a Vaishnava. Why? Sarpochishta Yathapaya. Just like paya means milk is very healthy and very good for our health. But when that same milk is touched by a serpent, it becomes poison.
Poisonous.
So even though Harikatha is pure, when it is touched by a lips of a Vaishnava, it becomes poisonous and it will have opposite effect. So it is recommended that we should not hear Bhagavad Gita or anything from a professional speaker who are speaking this for money or for any ulterior motive. So, and that's why. And then Prabhupada quotes another prasanna manaso, evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yojataha. One who is engaged in bhakti, he is always prasanna. Because his heart is cleared of all nonsense. When one engages in bhakti, that person's heart is cleared of all nonsense. And when all the nonsense is gone from our heart, then only we can realize God. Because God doesn't give knowledge where there is nonsense. So we have been carrying so many contaminations, so many impurities in our heart. When it gets purified, then we can start realizing God. And how do we purify our heart? Cheto darpanam arjanam, bhava mahadavagni narvapanam, param vijayate Sri Krishna sankirtanam. By chanting Krishna's name continuously, we get purified. Our heart gets purified. That's the marjanam. Marjanam means cleaning process. That is the cleaning process of our chitta, our heart. And only when we have, it is like a mirror. So when a mirror is cleansed, then we start seeing the real image, the actual image. Otherwise, it's dirt that have accumulated. In the same manner, when the mirror of our heart is cleared, we start seeing things as they really are. And that's why Prabhupada, the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is recommended for this. So very beautiful verse, very deep and very nice. So I'm glad we were able to finish this today. So any thoughts or reflections, Prabhuji's? Stop sharing.
My take home today is Acharyavan Purusho Veda. And it is very, very true. Even today, if you talk of in the material world, if you are brought up among lawyers, you understand the law. And they are so-called acharyas because we have given them that acharya of law. But if you think of the real acharyas, meaning acharyas who understand themselves, the world, and the process of life, you will get immediately purified to an extent where no amount of knowledge will come anywhere near it. You will understand the very purpose of what you are here for, which is probably the most difficult because this cannot be taught. This can only be realized. The law can still be taught. So my take home for the day is that one single line.
Acharyavan Purushoda. I'll try to find the whole verse and send probably in the group chat.
ना आहे माझं मी आता माझं व्हॉट्सअप मध्ये तेच स्टेटस मध्ये लावला.
Okay.
I just put that into my status
Very
because that is a take home. Of course, not that I didn't think of that. I always believed external qualifications is not the only thing. You need the blessings and the company of those kind of people.
Mhm.
So I have never gone for credentials as the only way to define qualified. But today, this is a perfect take home for me.
Mhm. Very nice. Thank you, Prabhu, for sharing.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other thoughts, Prabhuji's? Any realizations, take home points?
Okay, this is ultimately it says ki bhakti is required. I mean, bhakti marg is the right path for liberation, rather, and that path also purifies you from all your sins. This is very,
Yes.
very, very important, actually. I mean, and two, three things. I'm learning Bhagavad Gita from the proper learned person who understand, and this is also because there is a lot of people who interpret Bhagavad Gita on their own way.
Mhm.
Chanting Hare Krishna and devotional service is the it is said multiple times. It is the path for liberation, or in Kali Yuga, actually. And yes, this is the topmost king of the confidential knowledge, I can say. It has been told, and it is true also. Until you devote totally, completely, then only this purification of mind or everything will start, and automatically the thing will be straight right, actually. So otherwise, the person will just flow with his senses, actually, what it likes, and it will keep on flowing with that till end. So it is very true, actually. I mean, I can say simplest form is a chanting Hare Krishna, actually. It may not be possible every day to go to temple,
Mhm.
but wherever you are, at whatever place you are, that dedication, devotion has to be there.
Mhm.
Just doing your pranama in that direction of temple is also okay. And I remember this. I mean, in small story, Janabai, the Santa Janabai,
Mhm.
she could not go to Pandharpur, actually, many times, but
Mhm.
she was so devoted, actually. The God has come to meet her. That is a devotion and bhakti. Correct? Means like that. So it is rightly said in those verses, and it is the takeaway, actually.
Yeah, very nice. And this Bhaktivedanta purports, because if I had read only that verse and translation, okay, Rajavidya Rajaguhyam, but this purport was so deep, it deepens the understanding of that verse to such a depth that one can remember it for much longer period. And it clarifies everything about that shloka. So very beautiful.
Another important thing is it really talks about the soul and body, and the eternity of the soul, eternal nature of the soul. And once the soul is eternal, the purification of soul is very, very important, because you will carry this from this birth to next birth to
Mhm.
next. And all that good karma or bad karma, it will get carried with you. So that is another thing, actually. I mean, again, I mean, the one it is said that the soul is eternal, and soul, that is your soul, actually. I mean, and it is in which direction or in which work you have to put it, and which good or bad karma you have to do, you have to decide. Correct.
Yeah.
So to purification, again, it comes again the bhakti again, and the water karma is there, it will go with you. along with it, will remain with you rather.
Mhm.
Okay. And it remains with the soul and not with the body is what I understand from this.
Correct.
So purification is very important.
Body is given so that you can experience the fruits of that karma.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Rajesh. Bro.
ते नारदांची गोष्ट वाचताना मला जुनं एक व्हॉट्सअप वरती एक महर्षी रमणांची गोष्ट आलेली आठवली. आता व्हॉट्सअप ते किती खरं असतं खोटं असतं तिथं त्याला तो गोष्ट ते हे वेगळा, पण त्यांच्या आश्रमामध्ये एक गाय होती आणि ती रोज सत्संगाला यायची महर्षी रमणांच्या त्यांना, आणि म्हणजे तिच्या डोळ्यामधनं अश्रू पण व्हायचे असा त्याच्यामध्ये उल्लेख आहे. आणि शेवटच्या तिच्या दिवसामध्ये ती आजारी पडली, त्यांच्या आश्रमातच होती तेव्हा, तर त्यांचा सत्संग चालू असताना ती काही आली नाही. आणि मग महर्षी रमण तिला भेटायला गोठ्यामध्ये गेले आणि त्यांनी डोक्यावर हात ठेवलेला असताना त्या गायीनी प्राण सोडला. तर त्याच्यामध्ये उल्लेख असा आहे त्याला की ही आता परत भूतलावरती येणार नाही, असं महर्षी रमणांचं त्याच्यावरती हे त्याला, म्हणजे एखाद्या योग्याला कसा अंतिम संस्कार करतात तिथं त्याला, तसा त्यांनी तिचा अंतिम संस्कार केला. आणि त्यांच्या ह्याच्यामध्ये असा हे आहे, म्हणजे फक्त मनुष्य जन्म नाहीच, काही काही ब्लेस सोल असतील तिथं त्याला, तर ते प्राणी जन्मामधून सुद्धा मुक्तीला पोहोचू शकतात.
Yes.
अगदी.
So general rule is that without human form you cannot escape, but there are always exceptions. That exceptions are very rare, but there are exceptions. Yes. Just like
the case of the elephant Keshavan in Guruvayur.
Okay.
No calendar, no nothing, but for 54 years, every Ekadashi it used to fast. It is not told, right? But it just used to fast. And not a single time was there any misbehavior due to whatever reason when it was doing, or rather the whole 54 years, it was one of the best behaved. Very obviously, that elephant would have been like this guy. Automatically, on the dot, available for the Shivalis of Lord Guruvayurappan 3 times a day and doing all this. So, astat ashe, there are cases of such, beings which are not human, but yet very true.
Yeah, even I heard a story of a dog who always used to go to the Krishna temple, small temple, and do pradakshina of the temple. And eventually one day he just in front of the deity temple, he just left his So yeah, there are stories, and even in Shastras there are stories, like Gajendra stories there in Srimad Bhagavad. Gajendra Moksha. So yeah, but these types, yeah, so these are exceptional cases. But in general, as a general rule, without human form of life, human form of life is when you progress spiritually. In other form of life, you are just burning your karma. You are not accruing any karma. You are not earning any karma. But thank you. Sorry, we ran a little bit late today, but I think we finished one of the very important shlokas.